So, the one thing about the footage you're about to watch is it's disconcerting, man. And the reality of this situation is that not only are we able to shoot it from a distance, but with the same exact camera, walking to my shooting positions to capture the creatures that Melanie filmed from 2018. I'm tracking a hog in there, big one, 300 pounds. Strange to see in the wild, but we continue seeing these 300-pound hogs, which is really strange. They look well taken care of. I'm not, man, this is strange, but it's strange to see data like this in any way, but to get it from a distance and then approach and get it as you're approaching, they let us pass, is what I'm going to tell you. And I don't ever want to put myself in that position again. And proving data out in your research, you're gonna find us. And if you're doing the work, I mean, all you got to do is the work, and I promise you, this is going to be something that's everywhere, is what we're seeing. I mean, these are, it's the same creatures, man. They're just enormous. We're in the editor. We're looking at a piece of footage that Melanie shot on our last hike, and I've got enormous bone structures, and you can see soft tissue. What we're doing is we're filtering light again, and this is actually on a still frame, but the actual footage, if you watch this guy, it's enormous. The brow, this is a huge creature. If you were to picture a giant gremlin, that's essentially what we're seeing here. A giant gremlin. And as crazy as that sound, somehow Spielberg got it right, because when we advance frames, we can see this creature's got a nose. We're looking at the eyes. There are other ones in here with his face pressed against his, and we've got them all around. We got bone structures and eyebrows with, the musculature, the balls. Reviewing the footage, we're seeing the achromatic primate bone structures throughout this entire trail side, and some of it is enormous nostrils and big eyes, right? And we're looking at some enormous bone structure here. This frame too, if I carry this back, we can see the bone structure. This is possibly a little one, or the ear off to the side, and that's the part that I don't think people realize. These things have enormous ears. This is an enormous ear. This thing is enormous, and it is what it looks like. It's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you picture a giant gremlin from Steven Spielberg's movie, it looks like Spike, man. And I've been saying this for a while. I can understand why they say giant goblins are coming out of the forest. This isn't, I think this is his ear stretched out to the side on both sides. So we've got perfect bone structure in the eye right in here, and then soft tissue beneath that and inside it. So we're getting a bone shelf, a light shelf. And all they have to do is position themselves at the right angles, and you can see the sun is at his back. It's coming up behind him, and he's watching a key spot, the entrance to a trailhead. And in this frame, he's straightened out, and his brow is leveled. If we go back to this, we can see this one's close to level. And maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just the light that changed. But I have a feeling that in that, there's a little bit of movement too. We can see here his appearance has changed based on the way the light presents. We can see the diffusion hitting this side of the giant gremlin's face, and then the split off on the higher areas is the tell. And then we've got the colors the natural, more natural, which is colorless, broadcasting in this particular area. And then it appears that there's possibly some plants in front of his face, a stick, something maybe. But I'm just looking at it, and I'm going to make a few adjustments and try to see if we can get a little bit more data out of it. Looks like you can see the soft tissue of the top of the eye and the eye inside there. That's interesting, because this kind of validates my theory that a lot of this is protruding bone and brow, right? So there's like a brow structure at work where you would typically see the beginnings of a nasal cavity. In this area, typically you have a nasal cavity that stretches down on most of these hominoids and primates. This appears to have a different nasal structure where there's bone, it appears, and it's interesting. The whole thing is fascinating. Let's see if we can try to get... I'm trying to see. I wonder if this would help. Let's see. Boy, it's scary looking on the side of that trail like that. Yeah, that's a little bit better. That's the still frame. It just cleared up, and here we are. We are at the end of the trail again, you know, and he's sitting right there observing us as we begin our hike. And so what does this tell me? Oh, I'm fully prepared. I'm fully prepared. We've got the soft tissue here on both sides. That's soft tissue line. That means that's that skin over the eyeball. That's his eyelid. Eyelid. We got brow, which is very bony and shelf-like. And then we're seeing obvious signs in the shading of eyelid. You can see it. And there appears to be an eye below that in this frame. In this one, it's a little more pronounced, I think. Let's zoom in, and we'll take a look and compare frames and compare the soft tissue. We might have went a little too close, but let's let it render. And no, we can see it. We got soft tissue. There's a little bit of glow in there. We got this side. So we know that we've got something back in here with this enormous bone structure. And I'm dying to catch it on film again. This thing's big, man. Very big. And there's a bunch of pals with him. We look over in this area. We've got really interesting stuff in the bushes. Let me zoom in. There you go. We're going to let this render. And this is the same frame. Same exact frame. I can just tell you, looking at this bush, it doesn't appear to be any bush that I've ever seen in the state of Florida. What I've seen in the bushes is in here, and this is one of them. He's actually at the end of it. But there appear to be all kinds of these guys, and they're watching the trailhead. And, you know, we can watch the footage and see that these things are moving in there, man. Look at this. This is insane, man. This guy's got all kinds of diffusion lighting him up. But you can see him in those little bushes. He's behind whatever this is over his head. Are these fingers on top of his head? I don't know. I just know we're getting a look at half of his face right here, and the rest is blurred. He's kind of shifted too, and the brow isn't as open. Looks like he's squinting, you know. It's amazing. And it's also enormous. We've got brow over in this area. There's some large creatures in here. Indiscernible from this footage, which means how are we planning? Well, we're planning. Trust me, I've got everything charged up, ready to go. Are these fingers? What is this? I want clear footage. I want to be able to tell. We've got them. We need to nail them is what needs to happen, and we will. You know, you got to be patient about these things. Look at these frames we're getting. Let me get in on this a little bit here. Let's take a look. This is going to move everywhere because it's Mel was, I think, swatting or itching or doing something, but look at the movement just over here. Watch this. This guy's like, man, it looks like he looks and then ducks. Watch this. It's like he's gone. He's up, looking, and then he goes back down. Takes a look, goes back down. Takes a look, goes back down. You guys seeing this? It's nuts, man. Let's put a little brightness on it. And let's see what we got going on here. Oh, eyeball. This is a Sasquatch sticking his head up. We got the nose, the spade shape, little in between. So we got the head right here, and this could be hair because it does glow like that. It's interesting, but what a frame. Hang on, let me stretch this out and we'll move it through. So he looks, and then he goes in. You can see it. So he's squared off, angle of the nose, eye shine. That's that daytime reflection, man. That's how you know this guy right here. You don't want to be walking on this trail. This thing's enormous, okay? That's a big... He's moving, yeah, the angle of the nose moves. You can see right here. He's just going to change that, watch. So we got movement where he's ducking. And there's... You can see it plainly right there. Shit. Yeah. So that's cool. You can see his eye. Got some eye shine right there. So we know they're setting up on the sides of the trail because we've nailed a few of them. And what does that tell me? Why are they ambushing the trail? Well, let's take a look. So we're here and we're taking a look at a hike. And this is the first clip again. We're on the way in, and here's our hog tracks right here, and there's several different sets of hog tracks, but this primary is a really big individual, and I make note of it as I'm walking. But the reality of the data that we just viewed means that we're walking towards those creatures, so we should have some sign, because here's the exact bush right here. This is the corner, man, that I said, oh, they're all lined up, man. So something should be there. And guess what? Something is there. Several somethings, and something really, really big. And we're dealing with it best way we can. But we can see what's there. And I was working on this, and I thought I'd just work on it so you could see. And I don't know what this is yet, but I know what it looks like. And so what I'm doing is trying to figure out how it's not, and then that would be a much more acceptable data stream. You know what I mean? But the reality is we just confirmed that some of this gargoyle-looking stuff, right? What did it look like? I said, well, here it is. Here's this. But it doesn't look like the gremlin anymore. It looks like a giant creature with big ears, yes, but it looks more man-like in this respect, looking at its eyes and the shape of it. He's got a bump right here on his bridge of his nose. Up here, is that a bone spike? I don't know. Is that on every one of them? I don't know. It's insane. But, you know, I take it back and I go through and I'm like, okay, well, we're hiking. There's got to be something I can see. You know what I mean? And absolutely, man, it only gets worse. He comes forward for a look and we get a look at him. And that happens right there. Boom, there he is. But look at the frame before. The evidence that he's coming forward is there. The bridge of the nose is there. The camera's moving, and we've got the distortion, and there's other individuals there too. But he's actually taking a look too. He's like, what? Oh no. It's like he almost rolled over or something. Like he was just laying on the side of the trail and just, you know, pops up. Or was he there? That's the thing. We see the eye shine right there. I think there's some distortion going on, but I think there's an enormous creature there. we're in the habitat where they exist, and following my theory. Oh, and there's a panda bear looking bear thing. I don't even know what to. How do you? I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay. So the data is telling us this because we're getting it from a distance in our examination. It should be there, and sure enough, here's bone structures, and we get closer and we're hiking towards them, and this thing looks like some kind of panda bear in there, and the other thing appears to be like, just a giant, and there's a couple of things next to him too, and they're incredible. We got him, but wait, because that's nothing. There's a giant right next to him. So this thing's, the really big one we just looked at, is pushing his head up against this, whatever this is, and this thing appears to have a very stretched out face. He looks like Eddie from Iron Maiden, for crying out loud. His teeth, he's grimacing. You can see the creature plain as day. It's grimacing at my wife and I. And hang on, I'm going to make an adjustment so that we can try to brighten it up and see if we can get a little more data that way. Oh boy, no, it still comes out the same. He looks like a very cartoonish, scary individual, and he's grimacing at us. And you can see it. There's one in the bushes on the left side. These are the achromatics, and they're hard to pick up with the sunlight in your eyes and your camera too. But they're at the end of the trail and they're watching us. That big one is right here. You can see literally this thing's head is here. This huge creature is here, and this guy's right next to him. And you can see this is the muzzle. It's like a little beard hanging off the bottom lip. Look at this. It almost looks like it's drawn. It's like nuts, cartoonish creatures, and they're moving around in there. And that's the scary part, because we get so much movement, and you can tell, oh boy, it's like, what's next? I mean, it's freaking crazy, man. But there's one over here. It looks like they're lined up. You can see a little bit of an apex here. That giant, though, the one that's right here with you can see the nose right here, man. It's mind-numbing that this data exists. Look at that grimace. Oh man, I'm just taking a still frame of that one. But so there it is, man. As we said, as we stated, they like the trails with the hog tracks, and Mel and I were both making observations, but right here in particular, I think I'm talking about it. It's actually getting harder and harder to dismiss, guys. I'm sorry, but that data is like making it harder now too. It's like, God, man.